Okay, so I had to make an adjustment here. So I put a pin right in there, which is the tip portion and 1/4 of an inch of what I still needed. You see? Oh, look at that. And also at the bottom, I used a marker, and I went ahead and marked out that spot too, so that I can actually cut that portion too, because I'm not gonna need that anymore. So I'm just gonna flip this around, whoop, and cut up to that section. Da 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 da. There it is. So I cut to that section. I don't need that no more. And now I'm just gonna trace that little area here. And I could see it in the Sharpie. I don't know how well it reads in the camera, but I went ahead and did that right there. And since that shape and this shape is the exact same thing, I'm just going to copy it over to this side as well. I'm just going to do that, flip it over, boop. And this way, oof, look how jagged and messed up that looks. And not my feet. I'm talking about this right here. I'll just smooth that out. When I do that again, and I'm just going to get rid of this portion right here. There you go. Tilt my camera a little bit up so that we're actually seeing what we're supposed to see. And there we go. We have a little bit of more edges to cut out. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish that up, and I'll resume. And look at that. I got my two little donuts here. And I'm going to go ahead and do the next portion of this. I'm not going to glue these on quite yet, because there's a second portion of this. I have to make sure that there's enough space on the actual head itself. So now that I have it, I want to make sure that I'm going to stay in the lines of this, because if I go over, potentially I would like to have my eyes right there. But as you can see, I have a giant hole gaping on this side. So I'm going to have to go all to the edge here to make sure that's matched up perfectly. And do the same thing on this side. So I'm going to start with one first. Go ahead right here. It's already up to the edge that I need it to be. And I am no longer going to need any of this section inside here, because I'll just be gluing on that area itself. Everywhere that's black is where I'm going to have my glue is going to be stuck on, so I'm not going to need any of that area right there. So I made a mark of that. That's all the portions I'm going to have to cut out. Same with this too. So I know that I'm going to have it right there. I'm lining it up where I need it to be. Right there, right there. That looks good. I'm going to go ahead and mark it. Because now this is going to be my viewing source. Look at that. Look how much more room I have there. So I'm going to leave that like that, because that's where my pattern's going to be at. I can cut that out later. And now we're going to start gluing. So this next portion, we're going to need contact cement. Now we can get this at Home Depot. This stuff, let's see. This stuff is very smelly, so I prefer if you would do this outside. And it comes with a brush inside the top cap here, like that. And this stuff is very sticky, and it also is very messy. So what I would tell you to do is to get a piece of cardboard or something you're working with here. I'm going to use this little board. Clear that out of the way. And we basically saved ourselves 1/4 of an inch across, right? So the way that this stuff works is that you just need a little bit of it. And you can use, if you are wearing gloves, you can use your finger, or you can use a pencil or something to move it around with. You can use the brush, but the brush is pretty thick for what we need it. And we're just going to take a little bit of that glue, and we're going to take the edges and smooth it on there. As you see, as I only need a little bit of it. So what I'll do is I'm going to just put a jab of it. Look at that. Put a glob of it right there. Use my finger, and I'm just going to just touch the edge of this guy. the way that this glue works is that it needs a corresponding side with the same glue in order to have that very sealed cement adhesive. So I'm just going to go all in this side and glue it right there. Make sure you don't drop it in the stuff that you're working with. As you can see, it's a little yellow. It's not going to worry me too much because I'm already going to have the lens cover a lot of this up. There you go. So why use this instead of hot glue, for an example? Well, depending on what plastic you use, hot glue will melt through plastic. And we don't want to melt through the plastic that we've already worked on. Our lens itself that we're using is very thin. You see here? It's very thin. And if you use hot glue on it, it'll probably bubble up and be disoriented or be warped a little bit. And we don't want that. So you see right here, you know, you have a lot of room to play with the glue. So we're going to make sure that we use our side that that is just the plastic side, or I mean the tint side. So you want to make sure you're working on the tint side and not the plastic side, because the plastic side is going to be on the outside. And you can do that by either marking it with a piece of tape so you know what side it's on. You could put it right down the middle, and then take that glue again and just start doing the same thing. A little bit easier because it's a little bit of a harder plastic. Put some more down. You can use that paintbrush if you want. It's just that with this cement glue, it's a little bit goes a long way. You just need the thinnest of layers in order for this thing to work. You know, you want it to dry, and if it ever goes over a certain amount, you can just use another finger here and just kind of brush it away. There you go. So that's all the corners that I needed. And let's sit that there to dry. And the way you can tell that it's dry is if you take your finger here, and if you touch it, if it sticks to your finger, then it's not dry yet. See how that worked right there? So you just want to be able to take, you should be able to just kind of brush your finger over it, and it'll lose its tackiness, its wetness. You can also see by the edge, by taking it up to the light, and if you see it shining off the light, that's how you know it's still wet. So we're going to let that dry for a little bit, and I'm going to go ahead and pause it and resume when it's all done. So I went ahead and glued the other portion here. As you see, I just started this guy so that this one can start drying. Again, I would suggest you do this outside because it does smell. It does have a toxic fume that comes off of it. And, you know, you can read the label and just be careful. So, but I went ahead and used a brush to get that side on. So now I'm going to take this guy and fill the edge here. And it's, oops, if I can show you here, and it's relatively dry. It's not sticking on my finger anymore, which means this one's going to be dry as well. You can blow on them to make it go faster, but here we go. This stuff won't stick on anything else permanently unless you put it on the other portion of this thing. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. I'm going to lay it on it, just like that. Push, 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 push. Down, and look at that, permanent. Now you probably want to wait and set that to dry. If it's already dry, it's going to be good. You don't have to worry about it anymore. And now we can do the exact same thing we just did here for this one. So we're going to go ahead and do another set of gluing on the inside. So I'm just going to glue on the inside here and then glue on the inside here so that we can push that down on that. And what you can do is you can take a Sharpie and mark out how much you need to glue down. Right there, right there. Don't want to mark on the plastic itself, but at least you have a general idea now of how much glue, I don't know if you can see that, but I can, how much glue I need for this inside portion. Again, it's going to just be another 1/4 of an inch because you're going to be placing it down on here. And you got to remember, well, at least for my design, is I don't want to go all the way to the edge out here. I just want to go on the inside. And there's a trick to that. So what I'll do is I'll take the glue, I'll wipe it off. Whoop. See, make sure that I don't have enough glue dripping from this thing. I'll wipe it here like it's a paintbrush, and then I'm going to start doing the same thing again. So I'm going to take it, I'm going to go ahead, and this time I'm going to use the brush. So I'm going to do the outside, just like that. This side, this doesn't, you don't have to worry too much about getting on the inside here, because, I mean, technically you can still see through it. You can pull off the glue once it dries up. But we're just trying to give it a general amount on the edge here. And I'll show you why, because when I take this guy off, and I'm going to put him on him right here, I'm going to leave myself a mark right there. And peel him back off. There we go. See how far it went up there? I'm going to take the rest of my glue here, and I'm going to go ahead and do the inside to that point. Right there. Over here. Over here. Hands getting sticky, which I would always suggest that you always use your gloves if you have some. There we go. Set that to dry. Just leave it there, let it air out. I'm going to go back to this guy right here, because this guy should be done. Yep. And now I'm just going to go ahead and glue this guy down. Okay, made a huge mess, but that's fine. Went ahead and glued this, put the gluing down on the back side of this eye. So now I'm going to go ahead and attach this one to here. And I'm going to start at the very bottom edge first, because that one's the one closest to the head there. Boom, boom, boom. To the face, I mean. So there we go. Done and done. So this guy is done. So what you're going to do is you can take your finger if you want, and you can rub off all the extra glue, because as long as that glue doesn't have another piece of glue to grab onto, it rubs off like rubber. And it'd be great if I could show you actually what that looked like. But I'm going to step in the there you go. And I just rubbed off all the pieces from that foam, just like that. That's the inside. I'm going to turn it sideways so you can kind of see what you're looking at here. There you go. So now I'm going to take my eye and put it on my little head here. Boop. So now all I have to do is cut out that section there. See if you can see it. There you go. So now all I have to do is cut out that section. Tilt it down a little bit so you can actually see what I'm doing here. So here, as you can see, is the eye. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm just going to slide it right up to that area. There you go. and there's foam right there. And what I always seem to feel the best way of getting rid of foam is to use an X-Acto knife. So that's exactly what I have here. And I'm just going to trim out on the inside. You can move the flap away, just make sure that you're cutting right underneath it. And then once you do that cutting, you can just peel it off. Ta-da. There you go. See? You tuck that right in. Unfortunately, my head, when they started making this, I don't remember if you saw the previous videos, there's a huge chunk of foam missing right there, which I'll have to glue in so that it's a little more stable right in this area. But that part's out, so let me go ahead and trim out. You can do two things. You can either glue this down using hot glue, or you can just trim it off. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim it off. I'm not going to need it anymore. Not at least for this headpiece. So we're just going to get rid of it. Here we go. That's gone. So now, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go ahead and finish up the trimming, because I don't need this other part down here. And then put the glue in. So I'm going to pause it and get back to you when this section's all cleaned up. So now I'm putting glue on this other side of the eye. I went ahead and did on this one, so that one's almost ready to dry. As you can see, the glue smears the permanent marker a little bit. And if you want to avoid doing that, you can either cut out all the red portions, or at least all the marker sections that you need to, or you can get a cotton ball with rubbing alcohol, and you can rub out. It'll take away the markings from permanent marker. So I'm going to take my glue stick here with my brush, take off a little bit of that glue, and go ahead and just do the perimeter here. You see, immediately that red started showing up, but since it's going to be covered by that black, I'm not too worried about it. And then I'm going to go ahead and touch the bottom here and finish up on this side. There you go. Let that dry. I've already got this eye over here ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead, feel it, make sure, touch it. This is still kind of wet, so I'm going to take it outside to air out and also to get some sun on it to dry a little bit faster. While that thing is setting out to dry, I'm going to go ahead and do this inside glue area here. Now, because this is the only part that touches the face, all this foam section that you have here can be covered in the glue. And so you're just going to take the brush, take a little bit, and if you have a lot, you want to spread it out as much as possible. And go like that, as much as possible. I don't have to go back in there, and I'm just trying to scrape away as much as the glue as I need. And there we go. And that's done. So I'm going to set this outside with my other piece and then start putting things together. So while that piece right there is, oh, gotta love dogs. Anyways, while that piece is gonna dry real quick, I'm gonna go ahead and set this guy into its place. This thing is now dry to the touch. I can feel it. It's not sticking anywhere. So I'm gonna go ahead and put them on. So in my picture and in the way that I pictured it, I want the eye to be close to the edge here as possible, and also lined up to the eyebrow and straight. So I'm going to go ahead and put them the way right here. I'm going to reach in to kind of push on the foam a little bit, but that's it. That guy's on there. He's on that piece of fabric, and that's one eye right there. As you can see right through this guy because the lens that I use was using a very light tint. The way that would work is if you wanted to use a darker tint, you can actually just make a darker tinted lens and put it in there. But because this was an extra piece, I decided to use a little bit of lighter one. And I'm going to show you how that looks on the inside after I get the second piece on. You can see most of that section is dry. The only part that you see is not dry is a yellow part right there. That's how you know that it's still wet. I'm going to scrape that off real quick so it's a little less. But you can see how that was, this whole section was yellow, and then now it turned clear, and that yellow portion right there is still the wet portion. But because I'm not patient, I'm going to go ahead and glue them on there. So there's my eyepiece. That section's really dry, so I'm going to go ahead and stick it on there. And now, because it's my last eye here, I'm going to line it up the way I want it to be. Just like that. That seams down the middle. And I can push down on it hard. That's stuck on there now, so now I'm going to go ahead and push the foam on the inside. Sorry about that. Let me go ahead and put it back up. There we go. And that's it. So now and there's my guy right there. Look at those eyes. Beautiful. Glorious. I usually have these little I have a sticker paper that I usually cut out little circles, and I put the little flashy glittery bits in the eyes right there and right there to match up. So I'm going to go ahead and get that now. I have my sticker paper, and I had this pre-cut out. I had a friend of mine who has a vinyl cutter. He went ahead and printed me out a bunch of these little stickers. They're basically circles, right? And so I'm just going to pick a set out here. Since my eyes are oval, I'm going to use the oval set. So I'm going to do the big one first. Boop. Take that out. And then I'm going to put it at the very edge here. Ta-da! There you go. And I'm going to do one more. Boop. And I'm going to put it on the same side over here, because so why we do this, why do you put it on the same side, is because we're trying to simulate that the light is hitting one side of the face, and that's why it has like a little bit of a glisten on the side of the eye. You see that in like an anime and cartoons, and so it gives it a cute little cartoon face. I'll put one more right there. And you don't have to do this. I just like doing this because it just kind of gives it a little bit more personality. And one more sticker eye right there. And I'm just following the curve. Come on now. Come on now. There it is. And there we go. Now our little mousey here looks pretty dang decent. And we didn't have to do anything else besides that. Of course, I am going to open up, I'm going to do the rest of the thing where I'm going to open the jaw up a little bit so that we can have the little mouth moving like this. And then we can have a talking Mickey that sounds good, like, "Wow, I cannot believe it. We're almost done." But there we go. And this is, you didn't have to cut this whole thing open. All you had to do was take out the eyes and replace them. And now you got a video for all that. So next part, we're going to go ahead and take out the jaw area. And I'll show you how that gets cut out. Hopefully I'll have a pattern ready for you to kind of do this whole sequence here. Alright, see you guys. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And leave a comment and I'll see what I can do about answering it, alright? Alright, take it easy, guys.